Well, for more perspective on the big decision by British voters, Henry Ridgwell joins me live via Skype from Brussels, Belgium. Good evening, Henry.
Good evening, Vincent.
So first, you've been in and around the EU Parliament there in Brussels. What is going on and what is the mood there?
Well, I'm inside the European Parliament building now, and on the surface, it's business as usual. There's a session going on over relations with Turkey, and the general day-to-day business of the EU Parliament continues. But underneath the surface, there is great nervousness here about what tomorrow will bring. As Louise said in that report there, Britain is the second biggest economy in this union, and it's one of the strongest militarily and politically around the world. And the loss of Britain to the European Union would have a huge impact, not only in London, but here in Brussels and on the entire bloc and its 27 other members. Everyone has their eyes on the results, which are due to come out at some point early on Friday morning. And there has been very little preparation here in terms of really what happens if there is a vote to leave. There have been some meetings behind closed doors, but few contingency plans, at least, that have been made public or been told to journalists about what the Brussels machinery, what the great bureaucratic machine of Brussels will do if the British people do vote to leave the European Union.
And indeed, I wanted to ask you that question. But if indeed Britain decides to leave, how much time is there before things change completely for the Brits and, of course, for the world, as we know it?
Quite a long time, in fact. Of course, there will be a huge shock in Europe and around the world if Britain does vote to leave. And the short-term measures, I think, will be to try to calm currency exchanges and to try to calm the markets, which will inevitably see a big impact from a British vote to leave. But then the tortuous negotiations would begin on how Britain leaves the European Union. No one's ever done it before. The dominant hypothesis here has always been closer union, and there is an article in the Lisbon Treaty which governs how the EU is run, which says that once a state says it's going to leave, it has 2 years to negotiate its withdrawal, and after that 2 years is up, it's out, whether it likes it or not. But the British government could delay telling Brussels that it wants to leave, even though the British people vote in that direction. So it could be anything from 2 years to 5 years to 10 years. And that uncertainty is what is making everybody here in Brussels nervous. It's what's making everybody in the banks and the insurance markets in London nervous, and around the world. We've seen volatility in markets from Asia to New York to Europe. So all eyes tomorrow will be on how the British people are voting, and all eyes will be Friday morning on that result.
And we know there are all sorts of issues here that have been discussed, but has immigration, from what you've gathered, been a major push, especially for those who are calling for an exit?
It has been one of the mainstays of their campaign, undoubtedly. It's generally accepted among analysts in Britain that the Remain campaign, those who want to stay in the EU, had won the economic argument. A huge majority of economists say Britain is better off economically within the European Union. And so within the past few weeks, you've seen the Leave campaign switch its attention to immigration, switch its attention to claims that immigrants, EU immigrants into Britain are taking local people's jobs, that they are taking places in schools, that they are creating problems in the housing market. And that has seemingly had an effect on the polls. And we've seen the Remain campaign, which did enjoy a lead of 6 or 7 points a month ago, fall down in support, and now both camps are level.
Okay, Henry, we'll be watching this. Thanks a lot for your reporting, Henry. That's Henry Ridgwell reporting live via Skype from Brussels.